America was an idea. An idea. We hold these truths to be self-evident. We've never lived up to it, but we've never walked away from it before. And I just think we have to be more honest and let our kids know as we raise them what actually did happen. Acknowledge our mistakes so we don't repeat them. America was an idea. An idea. We hold these truths to be self-evident. We've never lived up to it, but we've never walked away from it before. And I just think we have to be more honest and let our kids know as we raise them what actually did happen. Acknowledge our mistakes so we don't repeat them. America was an idea. An idea.
Imagine my horror when I realized that this was not a Donald Trump ad revealing how Joe Biden feels about our country, but it was an actual Joe Biden ad, a tweet from Joe Biden on October 21st. Now let's just break that down really quick, a little bit slower.
America was an idea.
Was.
An idea.
You see how he says was like past tense? Now let's go to what he says about, what did he say about Antifa in the first debate? See, he said America was an idea.
Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Antifa is an idea.
Antifa's an idea, not an organization. You got it. Not militia. That's what it is tonight.
You hear that? Antifa is. America was. We hold these truths. So that was on October 21st at 9:30. What else was going on October 21st? I just thought that was pretty, it sounded actually pretty familiar.
Attempting to set ourselves apart. And that's been a long history in America, by the way, which is you try to distract working people from coming together to work together by highlighting racial differences or religious differences so that the people who got what they got can keep what they got. It's no different on the south side or the west side of Chicago. We're confronting the same challenges. I got my start in public life doing some of the same kinds of things that many of you are doing, working at the community level as an organizer, and eventually then went back to law school, came back, started doing civil rights law and voting rights law, and that remains my baseline for why I got into politics, to help lift up communities that had for too long been ignored, that continued to deal with a legacy of discrimination, and where I met too many young people, boys and girls, young men and young women, who so often felt like they were on the outside looking in, and that the ladders of opportunity for them were being blocked in all kinds of ways. So can make things better. And in the end, Pennsylvania, that's what voting's about. Making things better. Not making things perfect, but putting us on track so that a generation from now we can look back and say, things got better starting now. And that's what voting's about. Voting's about using the power we have and pooling it together to get a government that's more concerned and more responsive and more focused on you and your lives and your children and your grandchildren and future generations. And the fact that we don't get 100% of what we want right away is not a good reason not to vote. It means
2 days
gotta
ago.
vote and then get some change, and
Where?
then vote some more, and then get some more change.
In Pennsylvania.
And then keep on voting until we get it right.
I mean,
And we will never come close.
isn't it amazing?
Saying what it would be like if everybody voted. When I hear people
Isn't it amazing that,
voting, it doesn't make a difference.
I mean, these quotes were 2 days ago.
The people who could be voting vote.
Joe Biden's tweet was,
Get 55% of people voting, and then people say, "Oh, look, not enough change happened." Well, imagine what would happen if 60%.
look at this.
What about 70%?
America was an idea. An idea. We hold these truths to be self-evident. We've never lived up to it, but we've never walked away from it before. And I just think we have to be more honest. Let our kids know as we raise them what actually did happen. Acknowledge our mistakes so we don't repeat them.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, it really sounded familiar. And one more.
Hold these truths.
Worth spending 15 minutes to go vote. We saw this summer amazing outpourings of folks on the streets from every different background. And it made me optimistic about young people because they want, what it showed me was that in some ways they believe more in what they were taught than maybe their teachers did about what America should look like. They took seriously the idea that people should be treated on the basis of the content of their character and not the color of their skin, and that we want to have a society that's not discriminatory and to tear down some of those barriers. So there is room for protest. I was inspired originally by a tradition of protests, including people like my friend who left us this year, John Lewis. But protest that is not translated into policy, is not translated into law, it just kind of dissipates. It goes away.
Well, let's hope for that.
It goes away.
Again.
What we have to do is always constantly figure out how do we
Constantly.
institutionalize awareness and make those into laws and policies that can actually change the country for the better.
Change the country.
And that is worth 15 minutes. That's worth some time. I was talking to a buddy of mine who's a personal trainer. He says, I meet folks. They start off, they're supposed to be on a workout program.
Oh, be quiet.
And, after about a month,
This is how they view our country, okay? This is something that they don't intend to stop. But they do intend to implement.
so I'm just going to quit working.
And this is just, it actually really broke my heart to hear those words from Joe Biden. I had even more horror when I came to the realization that that was his ad. I really thought it was a Donald Trump ad, and it was 2 days ago. And again, it sounded so familiar, but it was so direct and so clear in its actual words. It was no beating around the bush, and it did sound familiar. And what do you know? On that exact day, Barack Obama is on the trail with Biden, and in the city of Philadelphia, where the Declaration was written and sent, where the Constitution was drafted and ratified, literally in the city of Philadelphia. I mean, where we hold these truths to be self-evident. That's just really and honestly, that's just very clear. It's something that we really need to reject as a country. This coming from a former president and a current candidate for president, it's unacceptable, and Americans need to reject this. They need to reject it. They need to reject it. It is imperative that this is rejected.